Well, hello and welcome to the Mix 6 podcast with your host, me, Tom Pinks, as part of the Mix, the UK's leading digital support service for young people. Today, we are joined by a very exciting guest for many reasons, but perhaps I'm most excited about is the fact that he rhymes with the name of the podcast. So please welcome the Mix 6 with Joe Wicks. Hello.
Hello, mate. Joe Wicks in the mix. Let's do it.
I love that idea. I feel like I could just pack it up and you could just take over maybe.
Well, thank you for inviting me on as a guest. I'm looking forward to chatting. Obviously, and I care a lot about physical and mental health. And hopefully, my message around that can be quite helpful and inspiring. Hopefully,
100%. So with the Mix 6, it is essentially 6 questions which form the basis of our conversation. And today it's all about yourself and what you represent. And I think you sum it up quite nicely in your Instagram bio when you say you want to make the world fitter, healthier, and happier. Is that still the case?
yeah, that's always been my goal. Even if I think back to the early days as a personal trainer, running the boot camps and whatnot, I've always just loved the idea of helping someone who's feeling a bit down or unconfident or stressed and taking them a little bit of a journey. And so, yeah, I think about that every day. It's my North Star. It's my focus point. I always think, right, share something that's going to inspire or get someone moving or cooking. And if I focus on that and only that, I always think that it will draw people in, and because my message is quite consistent. And so yeah, it's been a big part of my mission, and I still today love the idea of getting people out there all around the world exercising, feeling good, and changing how they feel essentially on the inside.
It sounds like you start with that just one simple sentence and then everything else sort of evolves around it.
Yeah, and what it helps with when there's things that get offered, certain things come your way and things that might distract you from the message, and kind of you get drawn into certain things, whether it's a brand partnership. I always think, is it really helping that goal? Is it really getting someone to move more or cook more or exercise and feel better? So it's really helped me in a lot of my sort of career decisions as well, I think, and it's kept me really focused on that goal. And I'm very aligned, me and the business and the company and my brother who works for me, we all sort of think about that mission statement. And we stick to it. We stick to our guns.
Is it the first thing you think of when you wake up?
The first thing I think of when I wake up is probably like, oh, I'm hungry. I want some breakfast. But
Same.
no, it's in terms of my focus, in terms of my career, and I think the longevity of what I've been doing. It's very with fitness and kind of wellness. It's like you can be cool one minute and the next you're not, and it's hard to maintain longevity in the long term. A bit like musicians as well. Like you have a great album or a great moment, and it's really hard to replicate that. But with me, I've been so focused on that. I just think about it every day. Like, can I share a recipe today that's going to help a parent put a healthy meal on the table for their kids? Can I get someone who has dementia or Alzheimer's or a physical disability? Can I get them moving? So I'm always thinking about content ideas and getting people from different walks of life. So whether it's toddlers doing my workouts with Hey Dougie to chair-based workouts for seniors, I'm constantly thinking of the whole world as opposed to like one individual person.
Mm-hmm.
And that really helps, I think, with my ideas and where I go with my content.
And we're going to talk about that a little bit later. We're going to kick things off with the quick fire 6. So these are 6 very this or that, very snappy questions, just designed to help the listener, the young people, get to know you a little bit more, Joe, if they don't already. Are you ready?
I'm ready, yeah, ready when you are.
Let's do it. Indoors or outdoors?
Outdoors, for sure.
Indoor workouts or outdoor workouts?
I'm falling more in love with outdoor workouts at the moment because I'm training for triathlon. So cycling, running, swimming in lakes is beautiful. Love it. Good for the mind.
Would you rather always walk backwards or always talk in rhyme?
I think talking in rhyme would be pretty good because you'd basically be like Eminem, wouldn't you? Be spitting lyrics all day.
Pretty much, yeah.
I'd like to be a good poet, a good rhyming poet.
I'd like to think I'd come across as Eminem. I'd probably come across more as just someone who just chats nonsense nursery rhymes all the time, and it's just really annoying.
Yeah, lyricist, a lyrical poet where you could talk constantly in rhymes, I think could be quite entertaining.
Question 4, rom-com or horror?
I like an action film, but horror not so much anymore. I'm going to go rom-com now. If rom-com or action, I would have said action all day long. But yeah, rom-com.
Would you rather only be able to whisper or only be able to shout?
I've done so many years of shouting. I'm going to go whisper. I'm more of a calm, sort of
Go and
collected
whisper.
person. Like back in the day, I was throwing everything in the pan, screaming on Instagram. I think a
Yeah.
nice calm mentality is nice now to be.
And finally, question number 6. You already hold one Guinness World Record, but if you had the chance to hold another, what would it be?
I'd like to have a Guinness World Record for. I know if you would have done this, where you visit every single country in the world. I think that'd be pretty amazing. Like take my kids as well. So if I could visit every country, explore the whole world, and truly say like when I die, I've visited every single place, that'd be pretty awesome.
Do you think anyone's ever done that? I
Yeah,
feel
there's a
like they
young
might have.
guy on Instagram who did it like before the age of like 25. So, I'm talking every
Wow.
single stamp, even the smallest of independent republic, countries and stuff. He's been, I think there's like, I don't know, I'm going to make a number up. Let's say there's 600. He's been to every single
Hmm.
one before his 25th birthday.
Wow.
That's a pretty awesome achievement.
I was working in Asda on my 25th birthday, so that is an achievement, absolutely. Um, Thank you so much, Joe. So that was the quick fire 6. We are going to dive into the mix 6 now, and these are 6 questions to open up the conversation about why you're here. We are going to end with a mystery question suggested by a young person, but more on that later. We're gonna rewind. We're gonna take things back now, Joe. And question number 1, I wanted to know what were you like at school, especially in PE? Did you have this passion, this ambition for fitness way back when you were growing up?
Yeah, good one to start with because obviously I'm known as a kind of PE with Joe guy, obviously through lockdown. And although I wasn't a qualified PE teacher, like, I love that I got a lot of people moving, and it's been my proudest achievement really to say that I've got kids moving and families moving during a lockdown. But if I think back to my days as a pupil and as a student in school, like PE was the one class that I loved so much. I really looked forward to it. I couldn't do enough of it. I wanted to be there every day, and I found it very difficult. Maths, English, science, those sort of focused, attentive subjects we had to sit and sit still. I just really found it difficult. I was very disruptive, bit of a class clown. But when you put me in PE, I was the nice kid that got everyone moving and rounded everybody up and encouraged people that weren't that great at sport to say, come on, I'll help you. And I just loved teaching people. I think I always loved seeing someone like improve. So yeah, it was definitely something that like I was always destined to get involved in, something to do with sport and coaching and stuff. But I was a disruptive child because I had chaos at home. I lived in a home of addiction and mental health struggles, both my parents. So for me, like the PE and the sport and the physicality of actually physically pushing myself, it released so much inner tension and anxiety and fear that was in my body. I wasn't in a position where I could talk to people about what's going on. So I think exercise was that huge turning point where I felt, you know what, whatever's going on at home, it doesn't matter because I can control how I feel. I can change how I feel through movement. And that's, I think, where my love for exercise comes from. I think it saved me from all the trauma that I might have gone through if I'd gone down the path of drink, drugs, alcohol addiction, which a lot of teenage friends around me at the time were doing. And they were coming from backgrounds where they weren't exposed to drugs, but because I was exposed to the damage that caused and the destruction, I was really, really just like, I just want to put my energy in something positive. And for me, physical exercise and movement was just game changer for me.
It sounds like you were sort of treading a fine line. And on one side, there was this huge passion for fitness and exercise. And then on the other side, there were easy opportunities to fall into negative habits such as alcohol and drugs. Um, has that got any easier? Do you feel like you're solidly, confidently in that fitness camp now, or is this an ongoing thing?
No, I mean, I never ever experienced. I mean, I obviously saw the destruction that put put my family through, but I was never. I suppose I was just scared and fearful that if I drank, if I took drugs, if I smoked weed, I'd become an addict because my granddad was an addict and my dad was an addict. And I just had this fear that like if I touched drugs for once, I would be like an addict and it would ruin my life. So that kind of fear definitely put me off. And I just think, I just made a decision. I just didn't want to be a kid that was going to be like defined by my childhood and go down a path of drink and drugs and crime and do anything, beg, borrow, and steal to get drugs and stuff. It just didn't
Hmm.
appeal to me, that life. And so yeah, sport was just like in my DNA from that early age because like I said, it wasn't like I thought I'm going to be an athlete, I'm going to be a great sports person, I want to be I want to become a professional athlete. I just liked how it made me feel. That's the key, right? It changed how I felt. because I couldn't sit still in maths. I was annoying. I was a naughty kid. I was disruptive. No one liked me in those classes. But when you put me in PE, everyone wanted to play football with me. Everyone wanted to play tennis and different sports. So it was that kind of, yeah, it's a positive use of my energy, controlled my emotions, and yeah, I felt better afterwards. So for me, like, exercise now today is automatic. It's so unbelievably habitual. It's like it's a default setting for me, because without it, I am stressed. I do find myself being impatient and snappy with the kids, and I do find myself not being as tolerant. So for me, it's like it's a huge mood booster. Um, so yeah, I'm not like I don't have a battle with addiction. No, that's just something that runs in my family. But luckily, it's not something I experience myself. Definitely have days when I'm stressed and I'll turn to food and I'll have a binge and I'll have loads of chocolate and sugar and that sort of stuff. And other days where, I might just go, right, I'm going to go down a pub and have a few drinks with a mate, or go out and have a party and be out all night. But that's rare, because I know it makes me feel, it doesn't make me feel positive, it makes me feel great. Whereas actually, doing the exercise and waking up and doing a 5K run, or going for a bike ride with the kids, that stuff that makes me feel good. And I think my relationship, even I've never had an issue with alcohol, even more recently, like, I just don't get as much joy from it. I don't get as much enjoyment from going out on a Friday and having a drink and like waking up hungover. So I think there comes a turning point where it serves you and it's great and it gives you this confidence to go out and dance and chat to people. But then there becomes a point where I just want to wake up fresh, and be with the kids and go to the soft play and go to the indoor, trampoline place. And that's my idea of fun. I think your idea of fun changes as you evolve.
100%. And that brings us nicely on to the second question, which is, what is it about exercise then for you personally that just makes you feel so good? Can you sum it up in a word?
It's energy. It's just energy, right? Like I think we often look for energy in, whether it's whether it's like, going out partying, whether it's eating loads of chocolate and ice cream, fizzy drinks, energy drinks, certain things. And actually, the thing that really gives you energy is just sleep and exercise, right? It gives you a positive outlook on life. It makes you feel more inspired. It makes you feel like you can deal with the stresses of life. And I've just been up and had a work. My mum stayed last night, and she stayed the night, and we both sort of walked upstairs, and we were both a bit like tired, rubbing our eyes, and a bit like couldn't be asked, weren't in the mood for it. But then the journey you go on through that workout, you start to feel a bit better. You think, right, I can go a bit more, I can do a bit extra, and I feel great. I feel energized, and just feeling like you can take on anything during the day now. Like when you physically exert yourself, you feel that actually, I can control my stress. I can process my negative feelings and emotions. So that's the reason I exercise. Of course, I like looking good. It's nice to have a bit of muscle and feel a bit lean, but that isn't what motivates me every day to wake up and exercise. It really isn't. It's the mood boosting benefits that keep me going.
Do you think that energy is quite infectious as well?
Yeah, it just becomes like a part of life where you think, well, yeah, I can have a day off where I don't exercise and I don't eat well and I eat loads of crap, but you don't quite feel the same. You sort of just plodding along. You're plodding along. You're sort of like existing. You're not really thriving. You're not super energized. And so, if I'm having a day where I look at social media and it brings me down, or I read the news and I think, all this stuff's going, all this really negative, chaotic stuff's happening in the world. For me, nothing helps me deal with that more than exercise. So like the processing of that information and letting those thoughts, which they're real and they exist and they're there, but you can let it pass through your brain like a train. It just passes through the station and it will come back again in a few hours or the next day. But the exercise gives you that breathing space between your thoughts and actually like feeling. And that's really the joy and the beautiful thing of exercise, is that it's this great tool we have.
You work with a lot of young people, and I wanted to know, what's been the highlight of working with them? Is there one moment in particular that you thought, this is it, this is why I do this?
Well, most of the things I do are remote and they're online, they're digital. It's either YouTube or it's the app. But I love nothing more than like real life events, like where I meet people. And that's obviously done through my school tours, which I love. I do PE with Joe schools tours, where I visit like sometimes 15 to 20 schools in a week,
Wow.
all across the UK. And it comes to life. I take my speaker in, now I've got my playlist. I like DJ, I'm dancing, I'm talking, I'm motivating. And I see the energy and the motivation and the kind of little spark of joy it gives these kids. And so for me, it's really one of my favorite things to do, but it's hard because it's not scalable. I can't visit every school. I wish I could visit every single school and deliver that experience. But yeah, obviously I try to do like a little bit remote, a little bit online. And then obviously every now and again I do the tours. But yeah, it's just awesome. Like kids are fun. Like they're just smiling, they're singing, they're dancing. It's an energy that you can't get that from adults.
I just had a thought. Obviously, we talked about you wanting to hold the world record for all of the countries in the world visited. Perhaps maybe you can hold the record for all schools in the UK visited. Maybe
There's like 30,000 schools. It would take me
30,000
an
schools.
hour. How long would it take? It would take, even if you did 2 a day, that would take. That's 15,000. I mean, it's just too many. It would take.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be like 70 years old.
Feel free to log off now and get moving. I don't want to stop you. No, I'm only joking. That brings us nicely onto question 4. Obviously, the mix, we're all about young people, all about the issues related to young people, exercise, physical fitness, and link between physical fitness and mental well-being always comes up when we talk to young people. And who better to ask than yourself, Mr. Joe Wicks, about your top tips to get young people into exercise, no matter who they are or where they come from, what they do, who they love, it doesn't matter. Have you got these essential top tips you can pass on to them?
Well, the first thing to know is, you don't have to be competing in sport and having this really like competitive mindset to like get joy from movement and exercise. I always say like movement is medicine, and it could be anything. It could be walking, it could be joining a class, CrossFit, yoga, ballet, dance, whatever it may be, and just finding that one little thing that sort of gives you a bit of motivation. Also, a social element to it as well. It's not necessarily something you do as an individual. It could be as a group, and I think there's a bit of power in that collective sort of shared goals and shared motivation as well. But yeah, the basics. You've got to focus on the basics. Your mental health comes from your sleep, movement, your diet, and also your communication skills. Are you talking to people? So if you focus on sleep, first of all, like, get the foundation right, because when you're sleeping well and you're rested and recovered, you can wake up with energy to exercise or move more. You have a lot more willpower around food and decisions like that, and you just feel more, open to talking. Your communication increases, so you might want to meet your friends, you might want to speak to your family, and it's just kind of getting those basics. Once they start feeding into each other, it's like a self-fulfilled, prophecy. It's like a positive loop. Whereas if you're not sleeping well, you don't exercise. You don't exercise, you crave junk food, you crave sugar, you want carbohydrates, you don't want to take care of your food. And the final thing, you just kind of withdraw, you shut down, or you sit on your phone, you sit on social media, and you can just see the habits that form so quickly that suck the energy out of us and disconnect us from people and yourself. And then you see the positive things that actually do the opposite. So it's like, focus on those little things, and you can't get everything right. You're going to have one night where you wake up, you can't go back to sleep, you're up till 2 a.m., you're tossing and turning. Other days, you're going to wake up and you've had a good night's sleep and you put good food in your body. It's about the daily wins, right? Just small little choices, small decisions, and they all add up over time. So like, if you don't win on the sleep, you might win on the food. If you don't win on the food, you might be active today. So it's really about looking at it like that, as a kind of daily thing, as opposed to this long-term constant battle you're in. Just think about small things you can do today to make a difference.
Obviously, you'd been going for a long time, but then you just became this face of PE when young people didn't have access to what their normal PE lessons would be. And we all felt a little bit lost, very isolated. You came along with your lockdown workouts, and it wasn't just about the fitness. For me personally, anyway, we all felt we were just part of something bigger. And I wanted to ask for question number 5, did you personally feel this sense of community during that time? And why is that important for well-being and physical fitness?
Yeah, well, I'm glad you took part. I didn't realize you did the workouts. That's good to know. It was very much, a timing thing, right? I'd done so much work with schools. I obviously had done hundreds of workouts around the UK and also online, but I'd never had the success of that because obviously everyone was just forced into that. Like, they're at home, this is going to be live. Everyone's talking about it, and it sort of got really well promoted and stuff. But it was still a huge surprise that that it took off like that. But yeah, for me, like, it was my purpose and it was also my routine. It gave me structure. So where I missed my family and friends, I had this other like big community, like millions live streams a day, and it made me feel like I was doing something which had meaning, that was connecting people, that was making people feel good, and like sort of yeah, this shared sort of goal, like you said, it was a routine that I needed to. If I wasn't doing PE with Joe, there's no doubt my mental health would have definitely suffered. I would have been eating loads of crap food, probably not exercising much, sitting on my phone, probably, watching TV, distracting myself from the real emotions that was coming. And the exercise for me, I think, channeled all that. So I felt quite positive through that time, where I could have felt really negative and really down. I knew we were going to get through it, but I had no idea it was going to be 18 weeks, months and months of kind of what's the word, re-lockdowns, secondary and third lockdowns and stuff. It was such a long time, but we got through it because that workout every day was giving us structure. At least for 30 minutes, we didn't think about that. We had a bit of a giggle, and we had a bit of fun. And yeah, I just think you have to think about your health. Nothing's more important than your physical and mental health. And if you're not doing those basic things we just talked about, you will struggle. You will struggle for sure. And people around you will struggle as well.
Again, the themes coming up, taking it all the way back to when you were talking about school, and COVID was that global chaos. And just as you said, to have that 30 minutes a day just to shoot yourself away, it's still there and we're not ignoring it, but we're just bringing it back to what makes us feel good and give us a bit of sort of like centeredness. So yeah, I can definitely see it. I don't know if you can, but I can definitely see excuse the pun, a running theme throughout this chat, in that exercise is really just a way to help manage the daily stresses, or even just a phenomenal amount of stress which comes with a global pandemic. And yeah, as I said, and I think I speak on behalf of a lot of people, in that we all felt like we were part of a community when it didn't feel like we had a community at all. So yeah, and it's really interesting to hear how we all shared a similar need to look after our mental health and to feel good during a time which it was really testing. And again, this is a brilliant segue to our sixth and final question. It's a mystery question from a young person. I only found out about it a couple of hours ago, and it is a brilliant question to end on. And I think it's a question that will resonate with a lot of young people as well, Joe. And the question is, when you're not feeling motivated, what do you do, Joe, to get that motivation back?
Well, it's a very good question, because I think people assume that as the body coach or someone who does fitness, that you're just always like super bouncy and happy and optimistic and energized and motivated to train. But the truth is, loads of times I don't want to do it. I mean, more times than not, I don't fancy doing it. But it's this constant reminder, this single sentence, right? You never regret a workout. Yeah, that's it. You never regret it, and you always feel better afterwards as well. Like I know that instinctively. So it's just, I don't even need to tell myself anymore. It's just like an autopilot. I just wake up, do my exercise, prep a breakfast or do a lunch, and I'm off. Do you know what I mean? Whereas if I'm neglecting that and I'm finding that work's taken over, or I'm just consuming loads of social media and I'm just putting it off and distracting myself from other things, then everything goes out the window. My sleep is disrupted, my food's disruptive, and yeah, I just really struggle to sort of get it back on track. But I do think that for me, it's just become autopilot. But you have to. That's why you've got to get it in your DNA from the youngest possible age. Get kids, your children, your family around you all exercising together. Because if you don't, it's very hard as an adult to get into exercise. But yeah, remind yourself of that simple thing. You're going to feel better afterwards, and it can be gentle too. It doesn't have to be a really intense HIIT workout or going for like a 20-mile run. You can just put your shoes on and go for a walk in nature, listen to a nice podcast, or getting some fresh air by, going for a bike ride with your nan or your mum or something. Like, it's just anything you can do to get out and be with someone, I think is really good.
100%. I think it's about keeping an open mind. I used to think that fitness and exercising is a 30-minute HIIT workout, or I've got to be lifting so much on the weights. Whereas actually going for this morning with my girlfriend, I went just for a 45-minute walk around the park, and it was beautiful. And that's exercise. And
Sure,
it's
yeah.
not all about physical fitness, not all about the body sometimes. As this conversation has highlighted, it is what's going on in there and looking after that. And I think fitness and exercise is a huge player in looking after it.
Oh, mate, I think of all the things in the world, like even obviously, like, anything you can think of in terms of looking after mental health, even therapy and talking. I think the instant shift in your mind, some kind of movement is really good. It just shifts, chemically changes your brain. So yeah, like I said, you may feel very flat, very down, very stressed, anxious. Even if you just, like I said, go for a 10-minute walk, like you'll notice a slight shift in your mindset. And then you might pick up the phone and call someone. Then you might reach out and speak to someone. You know what I mean? So I think it's just such a powerful thing that you've got to tap into and see it as a gift rather than a curse, and see it as a joy rather than like a punishment. And then you start to see exercise differently, I think.
Joe, we've reached the end. There we are. I just wanted to say a huge thank you for taking the time today. I know you rushed out the ice bath to come and talk to me this morning. So I really, really appreciate it. I hope you've had fun. Is there anything or any lasting words, anything you want to leave today as a sort of a message to the young people that we support?
Yeah, well, firstly, thanks for having me on as a guest. Loved our chat, and I hope that my words have meaning and impact. And if you are out there today listening, and you are someone who's you got fears or doubts or stress in your body, or you've got some kind of anxiety that you're thinking about something that is overwhelming, you feel really, maybe there's this little cloud over your head and you're not sure why. I do believe in the power of exercise and movement as the first medicine you should take. It's very easy to soothe yourself with gambling, porn, drugs, addiction, alcohol, shopping, Instagram, TikTok, like, because it numbs you, right? And it takes you out of your feelings. But going inside with exercise, going internal, like, it's so powerful. So really, really give it a chance. It can change your life, and it will help you live a healthier life, a happier life. And yeah, just keep moving, keep on moving, and keep on talking.